Welcome back to Building in Public, a weekly series where I sit down and go through the building phase of a live cohort for early stage direct-to-consumer founders and how it looks to actually build it out. I'll be going through everything in general with life and business and just trying to distill any learnings that I think are worth sharing. And this is kind of like season 2, episode 1. If you have watched any previous videos, it was more focused around my agency and the goals we were trying to achieve with that, which is still up and running, which I'm absolutely obsessed with. It is Stay a While. We're a creative agency that specializes in content for paid media, Facebook, YouTube, Google Ads. We handle everything from the strategy all the way through to the production and editing and delivery. That is definitely a story for another time in terms of how that came about. But if you'd like to go watch the previous videos, I'm sure there's some great insights and, snippets of what that looks like. But this is kind of like my new why, my new reason to work. It has created a momentum in the day-to-day that I've lacked for the last few years. And that was really brought about through clarity of my why. And I'll be honest, the why for me revealed itself when my niece was born. I realized I need to do everything in my power to create a life where I just spend time with the people I love. The vehicle in which I'm going to do that through, I believe, is Bakehouse Brands, which, for those of you who didn't see the episode before, this is a live cohort and community that I'm currently building for early stage founders, specifically in the direct consumer e-com space. The whole idea right now is that there is going to be a monthly cohort of students that go through a 30-day intensive workshop with myself and then get access to a community for a year. Each week in that month will be a different module that focuses on all aspects of business, including finance, content, community, and growth. And the reason I'm actually even qualified remotely to talk about this is because of the last 5 years. With Stay a While, I've helped multiple brands around Australia reach 6- and 7-figure months. And I realized along the way, having conversations with founders at earlier stages, it's not that they weren't as passionate or driven, or even the fact that they didn't have a product market fit. They didn't have the skills or resources, or sometimes even the time to put it all together and win. And I'm finally at a place right now where Stay a While is a scalable, repeatable business model, and that'll keep on going. But I do want to offer help for other people in their journey and try to give back to an industry that has given me everything. The house I'm living in, the holidays I get to go on, the toys I get to buy, the lifestyle I get to live has all been through marketing. And my hope is that I can condense my learnings of 5 years, and even before that when I was just a photographer, and basically distill it down into the most effective and precise cohort that there is currently available on the market. The reason I went down the cohort and not the course route is 2 main reasons. One, I think my biggest skill set as a worker is my ability to communicate ideas. I think that outperforms my creative ability to actually execute. The second reason is the stigma. I think courses get a bad rap, but I also think sometimes they get a bad rap for the right reason. I'll give you a list of 3 course names that I recently found that I think will summarize why that is the case. 7-figure secrets they don't want you to know. The passive income prophecy, from broke to Lambo in 30 days. I will be fully honest and transparent here and say that is the level of cringe and just absolute shit I'm trying to avoid. I am so lucky I get to work with brands every day doing what I do, and I want to continue that through Bakehouse Brands. So my hope is that with this series, you'll get like a weekly breakdown on what the challenges we're facing, how we're solving them, and any frameworks and resources that we're testing that you can apply to your business. So that way, whether you're a creative or a brand, you can get some value from these videos. My obvious hope is that you see enough value perceived with this cohort being built that you'll jump in and you'll be able to see firsthand what that is. To be fully transparent, we do have a newsletter that's going out. That'll be down in the caption comments. I'm still learning the terminology of YouTube, bear with me. And that is going to be a weekly newsletter called The Menu, where we basically break down what we're currently building, some great industry insights, and also like just some food for thought. Definitely worth subscribing if you want to see what the potential of that cohort is, and when the waitlist goes live, you can be the first to jump in. At this stage, we are finalizing every single module. So we're building the resources, the homework, and the course structure, and that realistically needs to be done by the end of this week. We are fully on track to hit that deadline. It is currently the 27th of January, and we are pretty much done. However, month 2 is probably going to be the most intensive because this is when we're going to actually start to create the resources. I want to create so much value that when I tell you this course is $1,000, you feel like you should pay me more. It won't be any more than $1,000. But the whole idea is that. So we're actually trying to build out and work with people to build out resources that I don't have the skill sets to build. I'm talking like calculators so you can work out your product analysis and how it fits in the market, your unit economics, how to scale, set up ad accounts, what templates you could use for your ad creatives, and create things that are like truly unique and not just a copy and paste of some other dude's course you can find on School. At this stage as well, we still don't know where the platform will be based. We are looking at Circle and School for now. School in terms of the actual feasibility, price-wise, and just being able to launch, and Circle for just more of a user-friendly experience. So as we progress and test with that, I will definitely keep everyone in the loop. One thing I'd really love to share that I think everyone in the creative space feels at some point, and that's going to be our challenge that I faced this week, which was time allocation. Because I'm still running my primary business, Stay a While, we are busy. It is a crazy time of the year for me. I'm very lucky that I think a lot of the time there's quiet periods in the whole e-com space during Jan, but our clients are pushing forward and we have a lot of content coming. We have Valentine's Day assets that we need to prepare and shoot for well in advance. So last week alone, for context, we did 9 shoots in 4 days and I almost burnt myself out, completely ruined myself. There was a few reasons for that. The delay of the companies getting back at different times at the start of January since the start of the year, unfortunately had a bit of a roll-on effect, but that is not the client's problem. That is my problem. That is why they pay me to fix these things and work through these issues. So it's a massive week for us last week, and I found myself struggling to allocate time for the things that really matter. And not just my second business, Bakehouse Brands, but friends and family. There is this never-ending seesaw of business and life when you try to do something that has never been done before that is almost inevitable, and it is trying to find the balance. And you'll hear 2 schools of thought from this from most entrepreneurs, which is fuck balance, go all in, or you need to establish boundaries and timeframes where you're available to clients and customers and friends and family so you can have the appropriate times and resources to build the business. That scale is constantly like that, and I don't necessarily know anyone who's 100% dialed it in. I face that challenge weekly. And my hope is that by voicing this challenge, I can come back to you with a solution when I've found one. My initial thought is to almost split time into the 2 different modes, which is disciplined and chaos. I'll have my disciplined times where there is allocated client windows, timeframes, and expectations across the board. But then I think there has to be a switch for chaos, where you go balls to the wall, tunnel vision on, and you work. And you do not speak to friends and family, and you do not necessarily meet the expectations of clients. And there is always going to be a trade-off for that. But as long as you're comfortable with that outcome, I think it's inevitable, and I think it's crucial. So I'm going to test it this coming week. I'm going to allocate times where it's chaos and times where it's disciplined, and I want to see how that goes. So that is the challenge of the week. And I want to keep this first video pretty short and just kind of explain why I called it Bakehouse Brands, because I'll be honest, that is probably the most common question I got asked when I started, to put into context why I think it actually provides more value to the name itself. To be very honest and simple, the very first job I ever had was in hospitality. And there was something incredibly rewarding about serving people and facilitating an experience that would then go on to be a cherished memory. You know, your 18th birthday dinner, your night out with friends, your anniversary dinner, all of these moments kind of circled around food and drinks. And when I really started to think about some of my favorite moments, most of the time they included food. So I started to explore branding and styles of cafes, and Pinterest became my Google browser, in the sense of I just spent hours going through what made a cafe feel so appealing. And there is something about that local, aesthetically pleasing cafe that for some reason, purely based on the way it's branded, that the coffee's going to be really good and they probably have some great food. So, one, I looked at a few people in my even area who have incredible branding and are cafes. The first one that kind of came to mind was a brand called Micrology. I'll encourage everyone to go and check them out. And if you're in Perth and you have not tried them, they are my go-to for all my beans at home. I'm a big coffee snob and they're just, mwah. But they do incredible pastries as well. The next one was Kith Bakery, Kith Cafe, whatever it's called. Kith's the first name. Check them out as well. Their branding is fucking incredible. And again, there is this perception from the start that purely because of the effort they've put into the branding, that their product is going to match that, right? So for me, I was thinking, I love the feeling of hospitality and I love the perception of what that style of branding conveys. Bakehouse Brands was then just solidified even more, but when I spoke to people about what I was trying to do, I kept saying that people had these, winning ingredients to a perfect brand. And it kind of was like this weird light bulb moment where I was like, that makes complete sense. Bakehouse Brands. Because I want to be the house where these brands with winning ingredients come to and we put it all together. The part that I'm still figuring out as I go and build out their emails, websites, newsletters, Instagrams, is how I'm going to incorporate cafe terminology and branding into my brand. The truth is I don't want to be too cringe and lean into the gimmicks too hard. I don't want everything to be a play on words. The newsletter made sense to be called The Menu. I think that's great, but I think I would have gone too far if I called it, I don't know, the recipe to success or something like that. Again, so cringe. I want to stay away from that. So I'm trying to think how I can incorporate that. My hope is that when we start to build these communities in each of these cities around Australia, that we can have local meetups with the founders and partner with incredible local cafes. So not only do I provide an incredible service and have that feeling of what a cafe is and does, we can combine that with someone who just absolutely nails it. So that is my long-term goal. I see it, I close my eyes, I'm sat at a table, there's 20 founders just from that city, and we're sharing a coffee and we're all sharing the wins and lessons we've learned, and that is something that keeps me up at night. I really want this to be what I'm remembered for. So for me, Bakehouse Brands, the feeling of food, that kind of like early morning, brisk morning, you're having a warm coffee and a warm almond croissant or a chocolate croissant, and you're just sharing in a conversation with a friend and you just have those moments. And that is my hope, that I can somehow take that experience and translate it over to my cohort. That's my goal. The bottleneck I'm going to be facing, and I'm very anticipating it, is my personal brand. I'm no one on Instagram. I have like 1,200 followers, and there is lack of social proof in my ability to deliver that kind of service. My company's Instagram is almost at 5,000, and that in a weird way, because it's built and structured as an agency, proprietary limited, there is less need for myself and employees to be featured on that and kind of lead that. I can present it as like, we the company would love to work with you. Here is what our company has done. When I launch this cohort, because it's separate to stay a while, I want this to be like, hey, this is my cohort. This is what I have done. I'd love for you to be a part of that. And it's definitely lacking some social proof. So you best believe I'm going to be creating a content strategy for how I can kind of build that portfolio greater. A little bit of a side note, and I think that's something that's worth noting, is if you are also trying to build a personal brand and you do not necessarily have the time that would allow you to circumnavigate this industry and algorithm and hack and all that stuff, there is a way, and it's with paid. And thankfully, that's something I'm incredibly qualified in doing. If you look at some of the biggest entrepreneurs in Australia, especially within the cohort and community space, the first one for me that stands out is a gentleman called Jay Wright. He is the gold standard for this kind of thing. But if you look at his ad account, one of the most interesting things is true, and that is he is running his Instagram ads through his personal account, and he's doing it through his reels, in which he is either one, on a call, or two, he's in a meeting. You don't see the person he's talking to, but you see the value he's providing. When I first followed him, he had maybe 20, 30,000 followers, and I think as of recording this, he's at 110,000. And I think it is an easy way, if you have budget, to put a fire on the fuel that you are trying, a fuel on the fire that you are trying to achieve. So I'm going to be creating a few different reels and video ideas that I think will work. I'm going to test them. I'm going to see how they perform, and you best believe we're going to talk about it. So that was kind of like episode 1, just a brief insight into what this will look like. Next week is going to be really interesting. I'm going to go through a module, an entire module, and kind of like how we're going to set it up, the homework, the live Q&A, the cohort, all of it, to show you how I'm going to build this, how it would actually look to spend a week with us at Bakehouse Brands. As always, all the good stuff is in the caption comment section, especially the newsletter, the menu. I'd love to see more people in there. We do have an entirely very small community right now, but I just checked the open rate, and the open rate currently is at 72.7%, which is fucking incredible. So really excited to have you on board and see what we could do together. Drop your brand in the comments down below. I'd love to have a look and see who's following along. Thank you for always showing up. This community is small, but I feel it growing, and I'm excited to share the takeover.